This video will take you step by step through the startup process of the CONQUEST 100-gallon series water heater. The video demonstrates the startup procedure performed on CONQUEST models with inputs of 199,000 to 300,000 BTU per hour. Always review the installation and maintenance manual along with any additional information supplied with the product when operating or servicing this equipment. The following tools and instruments are required to start up the CONQUEST water heater. You will need flat and Phillips head screwdrivers, an adjustable wrench, 3/16 inch and 7/32 inch Allen wrenches, a 6-foot step ladder, 2 manometers or pressure gauges that are capable of reading both positive and negative pressure, a stacked draft gauge, an electronic combustion analyzer, and a digital multimeter. If you don't have or don't know how to properly use these tools and instruments, do not attempt to start the water heater. Refer startup to a qualified technician. Before starting the water heater, a very important note regarding the installation of your unit. The CONQUEST water heater must be completely and correctly installed prior to startup. If your unit is not installed completely or correctly, do not attempt startup. Contact your installer immediately. Detailed installation guidelines can be found in the installation and maintenance manual furnished with the product. In order to gain access to the gas train, wire terminals, and electrical components, the top cover plate of the water heater enclosure will have to be removed. First, remove the 13 screws securing the cover. Lift the cover plate and set aside. Now you have access to all of the components inside the water heater. Begin by making sure the wall breaker is off and the unit's power switch is turned to the off position. Next, check the electrical power supply to the unit. The water heater requires a 120 volt, single phase, 60 Hz, 5 amp power supply and must also be electrically grounded. Now check to make sure the wiring is correct on the field access terminal board at the top of the unit. The CONQUEST control system is polarity sensitive. Electronic flame sensing requires correct polarity. Be sure that the hot side of the 120 volt AC or the black wire is connected to terminal L1, that the neutral or the white wire is connected to terminal L2, and the ground or green wire is connected to the ground bar. Visually and physically check that all electrical connections are tight by lightly pulling on the wires. Retighten any loose connections. With the drain valve on the water heater closed, be sure that all water supply system valves are open and that the system recirculating pumps are running. Next, open the shutoff valves on the hot water outlet and the cold water inlet piping to the unit. You will need to open a nearby hot water faucet to allow trapped air to escape when filling the storage tank. Using the T&P relief valve alone will not allow the tank to completely fill. A steady flow from the hot water faucet indicates the tank is full. You can now close the hot water faucet. When the tank is filled, check all tank plumbing connections to ensure they are watertight and tighten as necessary. Thread leaks will damage the tank insulation. These plumbing connections are located at the cold water inlet, the hot water outlet, the building return, the drain valve, and the relief valve. A condensate trap shifts with the unit and must be installed on the condensate drain to prevent flue gases from escaping and creating a hazardous condition in the installed space. The condensate drain is located on the flue outlet at the bottom of the water heater. Connect the condensate trap assembly to the PVC fitting on the flue outlet. Then, rotate the trap so that it contacts the floor. Connect a condensate drain line or an optional condensate neutralization system to the trap assembly. Now it's time to confirm the gas type supplied to the unit. The rating label on the front of the unit will show the gas type required for the product is either natural or propane gas. If the available gas type is not correct, your unit will require a conversion. Contact the factory for instructions for converting to or from natural or propane gas. The next warning is very important. If you smell gas, do not try to light any appliance, Do not try to touch any electrical switch or use a phone in your building. Immediately call your gas supplier and follow their instructions. For natural gas, the maximum inlet static pressure must not exceed 10.5 inches water column and must not drop below 3.5 inches water column during operation. For propane gas, the maximum inlet static pressure must not exceed 13 inches water column and must not drop below 8 inches water column during operation. To test the supply pressure, first shut off the main gas supply to the water heater. Then close the manual shutoff valve at the inlet of the gas train and attach a 1/8 inch NPT pilot shutoff test valve and tubing to the test port on the manual shutoff valve. Attach a U-tube manometer or gas pressure gauge to the test valve tube. Now open the main gas supply valve. You're now ready to measure the gas pressure supplied to the burner. Open the 1/8 inch pilot shutoff test valve and measure the gas pressure. If the supply gas pressure is outside of the allowable range, notify the building maintenance personnel or installer to reduce the gas pressure to the water heater. Open the manual gas shutoff valve at the burner and check the gas train for leaks using an appropriate bubble detection solution. If any bubbles are detected, close the manual gas valve and tighten the connection. Then reopen the manual gas valve and recheck to ensure there are no leaks. Natural gas is now supplied to the unit. When first starting up the water heater, the heater must be isolated from any remote controlling device. On the field access terminal strip, check to see if terminals R1 and R2 are jumped. If they are, nothing more needs to be done. If the terminals are not jumped but have wires connected to them, this indicates that a remote on-off relay is controlling the water heater from the building automation system. These wires must be removed and the terminals must be jumped. Remember to remove the jumper and reconnect the remote wires after startup is complete. Also check to see if a network type BAS connection is made to the Temptrac operating control. This is done by looking at the back of the Temptrac control to see if an RS-485 cable is plugged in. If so, remove the cable plug until startup of the water heater is complete. Remember to reconnect the cable plug after startup is complete. The water heater operates to satisfy the stored water temperature set point of the Temptrac operating control. The value of the control set point ST1 is the desired stored water temperature. The unit shipped with a factory set point of 120 degrees. Demand will typically create a drop in stored water temperature, thus activating the call for heat sequence of the water heater temperature control system. There are 3 temperature sensors that control the operation of the CONQUEST water heater. Temperature probe 1, TP1, is located at the top of the tank near the hot water outlet and serves as the primary water temperature control for the Temptrac. Temperature probe 2, TP2, is located in the middle of the tank and is used to anticipate changes in the stored water temperature and cycles the intra-tank circulating pump to ensure a more consistent hot outlet temperature. Temperature probe 3, TP3, is located in the vent connection and monitors the flue gas temperature. The Temptrac controller panel contains a display screen with upper and lower LED readouts, icons that illuminate to indicate an operating or alarm condition, and operating control buttons. The default display of the upper LED readout is the water temperature sensed near the hot outlet at the top of the tank. Alarm messages are also displayed in the upper readout. The default display of the lower LED readout is the water temperature sensed near the middle of the tank. The right side of the display screen contains various icons that illuminate to indicate an operating or alarm condition. Below the display screen are the 6 control buttons used to monitor set points and operate the control. Before attempting to start the water heater, the alarm on any failure feature in the flame safeguard safety circuit must be verified. First locate the control fuse cap and fuse and install it into the water heater control panel. Now close the manual shutoff valve on the gas train. Power the unit by switching the wall breaker on. Energize the Temptrac control by turning the unit's power switch to the on position. A small flame icon and the call for heat light immediately illuminate to indicate that the call for heat sequence is initiated. The display screen also shows a flashing Valve M icon to indicate that the control's digital input terminals 18 and 21 are activated and waiting for a signal to confirm the gas valve is energized and flame is proven. To display the Temptrac control set point, press and release the set button. The factory set point of 120 degrees is displayed. Press the set then up buttons together to return to the home screen. Following a 30-second pre-purge and 20-second hot surface igniter heat-up period, trial for ignition is initiated. The burner on light on the control panel will illuminate when the trial for ignition begins. With no gas pressure, flame will not be established and the ignition control will attempt 2 more trials for ignition before locking out. The 3 tries for ignition prior to lockout will take about 5 to 7 minutes. After a brief delay, the Temptrac control will sense that ignition did not occur and will shut down, emit an audible alarm, and an AL2 alarm code will flash in the upper display. To silence the alarm, press any button on the Temptrac control. To reset the lockout condition on the ignition control, cycle the main power switch off and then on. If during this test the call for heat panel light does not illuminate, another safety device may be tripped and interrupting the cycle. The typical causes are: the high temperature limit is tripped, the airflow proving switch is open, the ignition control is locked out on flame failure, the high or low gas pressure switch may be tripped, a fill interlock switch is open, there is trapped air in the tank, or a low water control or low water condition exists. Check the troubleshooting section of the maintenance manual for corrective action. We will now review the startup process with step-by-step instructions. These instructions should be followed in exact order to achieve safe and efficient operation of the product. Detailed startup instructions are included in the CONQUEST installation and maintenance manual. For optimal efficiency and performance, the CO2 for natural gas must be between 8.5% and 9.5%. For propane gas, the CO2 must be between 9.5% and 10.5%. Burner combustion must only be adjusted using a combustion analyzer. Do not attempt to adjust the burner by sight or sound. Do not attempt to adjust combustion based on manifold pressure alone. Manifold pressure should only be used as a reference point. Begin by turning the power switch to the off position. Drill a small hole in the flue vent approximately 2 feet from the appliance vent connection. Insert the combustion analyzer probe into the vent hole. Before starting the unit, ensure there is a way for the system to dissipate heat. This can be accomplished by opening one or more nearby hot water faucets. Open the main gas valve to the burner. Now turn the CONQUEST power switch to the on position. Following a 30-second pre-purge and 20-second hot surface igniter heat-up period, trial for ignition is initiated. The burner on light on the control panel will illuminate when the trial for ignition begins. Flame is proven and the burner should continue to fire until the tank reaches the set point temperature. With the burner firing, measure the flow gas pressure at the beginning of the gas train. If the inlet flow gas pressure is equal to or greater than 3.5 inches water column, continue with the startup. If the inlet flow pressure drops below the minimum required, a supply gas volume or piping problem may exist and must be corrected before the startup can continue. With the burner firing, measure the flue gas with the combustion analyzer. The carbon dioxide level, CO2, must be between 8.5% and 9.5% for natural gas and between 9.5% and 10.5% for propane gas. If the level is in this range, no adjustment is required or recommended. If the level must be adjusted, this is done by turning the slotted brass gas valve orifice screw counterclockwise to increase gas flow and increase CO2, or clockwise to decrease gas flow and decrease CO2. See gas train illustrations in the installation and maintenance manual supplied with the product. If at any point carbon monoxide is in excess of 200 parts per million, contact PVI Customer Care for assistance. With the combustion properly adjusted, now use the same vent opening that was used for the combustion analyzer probe to measure the vent pressure. With the burner firing, confirm the vent pressure does not exceed 1/2 inch water column. Pressure in excess of 1/2 inch water column indicates a vent sizing issue that must be addressed by the installer before operating the water heater. Your CONQUEST startup is now complete. To change the temperature set point, begin by pressing the Set button to display the current set point value. The parameter ST1 is shown along with its value. Press the Set button again to change the value. As the value flashes, use the up or down arrow buttons to increase or decrease the temperature set point. Press the Set button again to confirm the new value. To exit and return to the home screen, press the Set and up arrows together or wait 15 seconds without pressing any key. The startup report furnished with this water heater must be completed and sent to the manufacturer to register the installation address and the start date of the product warranty. The information on the startup report is required. All voltages, fuel, pressure, temperature, and combustion parameters must conform to the manufacturer's specifications. Failure to ensure and document that the equipment is operating in a safe and reliable manner may cause property damage, personal injury, or death. For additional product information and assistance, please visit our website at www.pvi.com or contact PVI Technical Support at 1-800-433-5654.